Sundar Pichai is not a servant. That's what I. That's the topic that I want to address today. So where am I coming from? Basically, there are a lot of people on YouTube. I heard some Baba, preaching his disciples that Sundar Pichai at the end of the day is working for someone, so he's basically a servant. And I heard another Baba, another some motivational some speaker saying that you should be an entrepreneur, you shouldn't work for anybody. So when you're working with someone, don't be like Sundar Pichai. Why don't you open your own Google, things like that. And then he went on to say that that's they are basically. He went on to say that he's basically a servant. But very recently, I heard Amit Sangwan, saying the same thing. He said that he is working as a servant there. He's working as a servant there, right? So I thought I should talk about it. This is something that is very close to heart. I've thought about these things a number of times, and I want to share it with everybody now. See, in my mind, Sundar Pichai is not a servant. I'll tell you why. See, let's say I buy 1 share of Google, 2 shares, 20 shares, 100 shares of Google. So now I become the owner. So isn't that anomalous now? Let's say Sundar Pichai buys 1,000 shares. In fact, he has a lot of shares. So what does it? So isn't it an anomaly now? Is he now an owner? Is he an owner now? Right? There is an anomaly. How would you answer? See, basically capitalism, it's a totally different system. Please remember, I love Americanism, I love capitalism, I love corporationism. All three. I have also talked about their negative effects in the American society. All these things, everything comes with some negative effects also. Those are the negative effects. I talked about it, but I also said multiple times that I'm in favor of this because 80%, 90% of the problems are solved by these issues, by these philosophies. So now coming to capitalism. In capitalism, America is every day reinventing the entire capitalism, and they're improving, basically not reinventing, rather they're evolving, they're making it evolve. It's evolving at a very fast pace, right? The corporate leadership structures, the ownership structures, they are all constantly evolving. And I don't think an Indian mind or an ancient Indian philosophy can, really fit, you can fit these complex structures into any of those, those models. See, many people say that, okay, Brahmins are they basically are spiritual advisors, Kshatriyas are the ones who create infrastructure and who fight. And then business people are Baniyas, and then the basic Vaishyas or the business people, and they basically do the business, and then they are the trading community, and the Shudras are the ones who work for others. So for them, anybody who's working for others is a Shudra. Not so. Not in the way I think. So look at this. If a person, let's say, he buys fruits and vegetables from wholesale market and sells it on everybody's doorstep or on a ready on a cart, do you think he's a very smart? Do you think he's an entrepreneur? So in your definition, he is. In my definition, he's class 4. He's actually a Shudra. That's what I want to tell you. He's the actual Shudra. Because he's doing the lowest kind of business. that doesn't make him any better. He doesn't require any skill, he doesn't require any brains, he doesn't require any ownership, he doesn't have any strategy, he does just doing the basic. He's like a mazdoor. Next day, he's employed by a guy to do the same thing. Obviously, nobody will employ him because this guy will basically cheat into that. Right? That's the reason people don't create these jobs. Otherwise, what is the difference? I could create a job also. I could say, you know what, I'm opening this business, you become my fruit vendor, you take the fruits from this wholesale market and sell it there. And then he'll go and sell it. But obviously I wouldn't do that because he'll cheat me, right? So then he becomes the worker. So in India, a lot of businesses don't occur and people have to operate in owner-operator mode because nobody will trust them. I've made a full video about how Indian people are, how 60-70% are cheats and frauds and thieves. So nobody will make such business. So they will always stay in owner-operator mode. It does not mean that their situation becomes any better. Right? Because they have to do it on their own because nobody will, who will hire a Golgappa maker, right? If I hire a Golgappa maker and then say, okay, take this Golgappa and sell it there, tomorrow he'll open his own shop. He will become the owner operator. So on the very first day, he's a Shudra according to your definition. Next day, he's an entrepreneur now. Basically, so that's why these jobs don't exist because you know that they'll cheat you. So that's the reason you don't offer these kind of jobs, and you don't open businesses like that. You don't try to scale like this. You don't try to open 5 Golgappa shops. But still, diving more into this, basically, Sundar Pichai's role requires an extreme level of intelligence. So he's a Rajpurush. Yes, he is a Kshatriya. He's not a Shudra or he's not a servant. He's definitely entrepreneur plus. He's creating entrepreneurs. These kind of big companies, Google and all, they give these people who are aspiring entrepreneurs, give them great opportunity to keep working for them and then give them those kind of benefits. They give them ownership stakes as well. The kind of decisions they have to take are strategic decisions that a typical owner-operator would do in India. Or even, they have to make political connections also. And all to the benefit of the company. They cannot work outside the what is good for the company. They cannot do anything outside of that. They make finance contacts. All that within the spirit of being the CEO of that company. They cannot work outside that. These guys have interesting. So this capitalism's invention of CEO, wherein owner and the operator are decoupled. You see, even ownership is decoupled now. Even ownership is broken down to pieces and given to so many people, right? If I have 2 shares, let's say, I'm a part owner too. So these they're constantly evolving. These are constantly evolving. They're coming. Sam Walton owners. So Walmart original owners, they own only 7% of the company now. In case of General Motors, the original owners don't own much, right? So is the case with Ford Motors. So is the case with so many other corporations that you hear, right? And those are owned by general public. So this public companies, publicly traded companies, right? So just because you guys see Reliance who has political connections and controlling the company, and Tata's who have political connections and controlling the company, and then actually everybody else getting paid very low wages, what in comparison to what a CEO should be paid. In America, they get paid $300 million. Who would pay $300 million in India, right? So they pay like 5 crore, 10 crores, 15 crores maximum, right? As a CEO. So for a professional CEO, right? So because their edge is not that CEO's brain, their edge is the political connection. So because you see these very static, less dynamic, less skilled, structures which basically don't require much skill and which are basically political connections based and all that. So you believe that, you tend to believe that they are the owners and they are the ones who are doing business and these guys are the servants because they are working for them. Why doesn't he open his own company, right? So because he doesn't have that similar opportunity, by the way. It doesn't really require his intelligence, CEO's intelligence, but it's also required political connections that Ambani has and Adani has and so on and so forth. So that's the answer. But coming to America, this is not the case. They are even having political connections. Sundar Pichai would be having political connections and he will use those to Google skirt. So these strategic leadership roles, they basically do all the expenditures, they manage everything, but not just that, they have political connections, all these connections, all the things so they work like Ambanis. They work like Sundar Pichai and all these Chandran Ryan and Indra Nui, they all work like Ambanis. They basically do all the things that a typical owner would do in India, even of a big corporation. So please understand that. Another thing is, in America, in India, let's say a bridge has to be made between 2 cities, between whatever, on a river, right? Who will make it? Government, right? But in America, that's not how it works. Capitalism. This is a private sector. So they will give the contract to some third party, to some company. Yeah. And that company would be owned by a CEO, would be run by a CEO. It would be owned by multiple stakeholders. So who's the real owner? Who's doing it? Obviously CEO is doing it. So in my mind, Google is also, basically creating something very big. It's a very big platform. It's a very big infrastructure that they've created for all of us, for everybody. So whosoever is running the show would be a Kshatriya, because he is creating critical infrastructure. He's a Kshatriya. So is the case of this CEO of the bridge making company and anything in America. Everything is a lot of businesses that even defense they're even defense contractors. They are given the defense contracts. Government doesn't do manufacturing or defense. They have checks and balances to ensure that the stuff that they make is safe. They have checks and balances to ensure that the national security is not harmed or violated. But yeah, at the end of the day, these are the private companies, corporations, which are not owned by anybody, which are owned by general public. They may be publicly traded, and they have a CEO. So who is the ultimate creator of those? CEO is the one who's basically putting all the thought into the technical expertise needed, in the budgets that are needed. He is the one who's kind of driving the entire show. They are pretty darn complex structures. There are 12 levels of ownership, there are 12 levels of management in a big company like Google, Intel, Microsoft, etc. 12 to 15 levels. So yeah, because in India, honesty doesn't exist. Because in India, if honesty does exist, then that doesn't get rewarded. It doesn't mean that everywhere else the same principles will apply. These guys are paid $350 million, much more than a typical owner would make. Yeah, right? So please understand, in my mind, Sundar Pichai, etc. are basically Kshatriyas. They're not even just Vaishyas, they are Kshatriyas. Alright guys, thank you.